Good afternoon. Thank you all for coming to spend this wonderful day with all of us. I'm Nicole Ferreira, the president of CPC Mortgage Company. And as one of the only nonprofit-owned mortgage companies in the nation, we are the permanent lending platform of CPC. And being nonprofit-owned gives us the opportunity to be creative in financing affordable and workforce housing, and ensures our returns are being reinvested into the communities where we operate across the nation. Our team spends a lot of time not just thinking about individual transactions, but rather the impact our lending has on neighborhoods and the residents we ultimately serve. It's hard to conceptualize the scale of today's housing crisis, and many of us in this room have heard the statistics. Here are just a few to provide some context for the next section of ideas. Just 34 affordable and available homes exist for every 100 renter households with extremely low-income residents. Extremely low-income renters face an affordable housing shortage in every state across the country, including every major metropolitan area. Nationally, the housing shortage for extremely low-income renters is estimated to be 7.3 million rental homes. So what do these numbers really mean? For millions of Americans, being rent-burdened or severely rent-burdened means having to choose between paying rent and paying for the health care they need or putting food on the table. For those who can't access a home they can afford, long-term goals that make up the American dream, like advancing a career, supporting a family, or pursuing an education, become nearly unattainable. As we say at CPC, there is no silver bullet that's going to solve the housing crisis and its implications for health, well-being, and economic mobility. We need to use all the tools in our toolbox to both increase the supply of housing and drive down the cost of housing if we're going to make a dent in the shortage of affordable housing. The next set of speakers that I have the honor of introducing are pioneering new ways to use our existing infrastructure to unlock more affordable housing. And they're proposing new models for maximizing the number of homes we can provide when we build affordable housing. Together, these ideas present new ways to think about how we define a quality place to call home, and how to best utilize the infrastructure we already have to increase our nation's housing supply, one home at a time. With that, I am pleased to introduce our speakers for this session about expanding our housing supply amid a national housing crisis. We have Muzzy Rosenblatt, CEO and president of the Bowery Residents Committee, who will outline his new vision for an old housing idea that started here in New York, the 21st Century SRO. Steponaitis, Director of Special Projects at Self-Help Federal Credit Union, will share self-help and the Chan-Zuckerberg Initiative's model for financing ADU creation. And Atticus LeBlanc, founder and CEO of Padsplit, who will discuss his tech-powered platform that has been called the Airbnb of affordable housing. So you have your question cards, and please help me to welcome Muzzy to the stage.
Why am I here? In a moment, I'll share with you how BRC is taking an old approach to affordable housing, one not seen in decades, and bringing it back, adapted for the 21st century. I've been the CEO of BRC for over 20 years, after more than a decade in New York City government. Nearly all these years, going back to the last century, I've been focused on assisting those experiencing homelessness to find their path home. But what brings me here, to this work, is the experience of a particular family, one that lost their home, fled their country, and arrived in New York. That family was my family, my father and his parents, the lucky ones who could obtain a passport out of Hitler's Europe and a visa to enter the United States. As a fortunate first-generation American, I have focused my work and my philanthropy on paying forward the generosity and goodwill my family received. So I know something about homelessness. I know that no one who experiences it seeks it. I also know that the systemic causes of it, poverty, discrimination, intolerance, and exclusion, have existed as long as humans have, and those root causes aren't going away. I don't spend much time thinking about a world without homelessness. And I spend a lot of time thinking about how we can better help those who find themselves in that situation get out and stay out. According to the New York City Department of Homeless Services daily report, about 23,000 single adults experiencing homelessness were sheltered last night, around 8% of them in BRC shelters. According to the mayor's management report, just over 9,000 single adults exited to housing last fiscal year, 9,000 of the 23,000, though about 13% of those from a BRC shelter. So while BRC may be punching above our weight, our city is falling behind. At BRC, our mission is to help reclaim lives lost, to help make better the lives of the people experiencing homelessness, not necessarily to make life perfect. Most everyone we serve at BRC seeks a place of their own, privacy that exceeds that which they have in city shelters. A one-bedroom apartment with its own kitchen and bath would be perfect. But facing ever-increasing costs to build and operate housing in this city, compounded by the scarcity of rental subsidies for those with extremely low incomes, the reality is that one-bedrooms and even studios are more than many can afford and more than they realistically need to make their lives better. How can we do better for more people at less cost? By looking back to a time when we did, to the SRO, the single-room occupancy dwelling adapted for the 21st century. In a city where as many as 200,000 SRO units existed, now there are closer to 20,000, 68 of which BRC owns and operates, with on-site staff and services, tenants who have security, stability, private living space, as well as community, and a better life. Today, our vision is to bring back the long-sought-after SRO, adapted for the 21st century. A private room of about 235 square feet, not 400. A private bathroom, a microwave oven, a communal kitchen, but not a private one in each dwelling unit, lounge space and offices for on-site support. By building smaller units, we can fit more units in the same building envelope, reducing the cost per dwelling unit. By reducing the amount of plumbing and utilities in each unit, the cost per unit decreases even more. By reducing the cost per unit and increasing the number of units that could be built, rents could be set lower, and the amount of subsidy per unit would also decrease. Old school, sorry. And we could double the amount of units we could support, dramatically increasing the supply needed to meet the demand. So what's keeping us from achieving this practical, affordable, effective, proven solution? Not money. It's cheaper. Just our own laws and biases. But now with the City of Yes, soon to be approved, the laws at least may change. Then all that's left to change are our own biases. When homelessness remains a persistent crisis for tens of thousands of our fellow New Yorkers and tens of thousands more are at the precipice of homelessness, it's time to adapt a proven option which is affordable, achievable, practical, and effective. Restoring the legal status of SROs, redesigned for the needs of today, will help ensure that tens of thousands of New Yorkers have access to deeply affordable housing and money left over to invest in their own futures. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Lily Steponaitis, Director of Special Projects at Self-Help Federal Credit Union, and thank you so much for having me here today. So 5 years ago, my husband and I moved into a tiny apartment above a garage in Silicon Valley. At that point, we had been outcompeted for about 10 different places, so I was just super relieved to sign a lease. I didn't know at the time that this would not only become my home, but an important part of my work at Self-Help and an increasingly powerful solution to the housing crisis. California faces a housing shortage of staggering proportions, 2.5 million homes by some measures. In regions like the Bay Area, renters are facing rising rents and limited supply, and homeowners are also struggling. Many homeowners are struggling to stay in place because of rising maintenance and insurance costs. So ADUs, which are small apartments built on single-family properties, are offering a promising way forward. In cities like Oakland, where 80% of residential parcels could support an ADU, the potential is huge. If even half of those properties built an ADU, Oakland could eliminate its 30,000 home shortage. This opportunity is too powerful to pass up. California has enacted supportive legislation allowing ADUs by right, reducing fees and streamlining permitting. These changes have had a measurable impact. Today, 20% of new homes built in California are ADUs. One of the reasons they're so popular is that ADUs add housing while preserving neighborhood character, which is honestly a critical advantage in a state where new development often faces staunch resistance, particularly local resistance. My landlady, Cynthia, built her ADU with a few goals in mind. Long term, she plans to age in place while her daughter raises a family in the primary home. For now, the rental income is helping her phase into retirement. For me and my husband, the ADU has meant stability, proximity to work that we wouldn't otherwise have, and a chance to form strong connections with our neighbors. This is the power of ADUs. They braid affordable housing into existing communities, creating density and opportunity without disrupting neighborhood character and cohesion. Despite these benefits, the full potential of ADUs remains largely untapped. In high-cost areas like the Bay, ADUs can cost anywhere from $300 to $800 per square foot to build, so it's quite expensive, along with most development in the Bay Area. Homeowners who build them usually draw on a mix of cash and traditional loan products like HELOCs, which use conservative underwriting thresholds. For homeowners who are house rich and cash poor, and these homeowners are often, stand the most to gain from building an ADU, these financing barriers can be insurmountable. At Self-Help, we've developed a specialized ADU home equity loan to help bridge this gap. There are three keys to this. One is high loan to value, second is future rental income, and the third is flexible underwriting. So one of the first things you learn when you finance ADUs is that the appraisal industry is still catching up. Many appraisals don't reflect the real future value of the ADU, and that's especially true in formerly redlined communities. So in response, we've created a high loan to value product to allow homeowners to tap into their equity and their future investment. It's also important that underwriting reflects the income generation opportunity of the property, of the ADU. So for those who plan to rent their units, we'll include up to 75% of future rental income in the underwriting, which gives homeowners a clearer path to financing. Finally, our manual underwriting process allows for higher debt to income, obviously higher LTV, and lower credit scores than conventional products, which expands access to households with less traditional financial profiles. So I wish I could say that this was the silver bullet to build more ADUs, but one of the most important things we've learned through trying and testing this out is that flexible financing alone is not enough. ADUs are complex development projects happening in your own backyard. There's a lot that can go wrong, and when we're working with homeowners with tight budgets, we also need local governments, funders, and community organizations to step up to play a role by providing technical assistance, pre-development grants, and low-cost subordinate loans to close funding gaps. This comprehensive model, so flexible financing combined with TA and financial support, is already gaining momentum in communities across the country. We've been getting a lot of interest, folks reaching out. Cynthia's ADU was the first in our neighborhood, but other neighbors have seen the benefits and more were built. And I think this is a really common story, which is why I'm bringing it up. Small actions create ripple effects, and we hope that our financing model, even though the scope of our pilot is limited, will inspire broader adoption. Our vision is to make ADUs widely accessible, not just for affluent homeowners, but for families across income levels. This isn't just about solving the housing crisis, it's about creating stronger, more equitable, and more sustainable communities that provide opportunity to everyone. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Atticus LeBlanc, and I am the founder and CEO of Padsplit. I spent over 15 years as an affordable housing developer experimenting with just about every affordable housing program available. And I found that they were all too slow and inefficient to effectively solve the problem. And I developed Padsplit to answer a very simple question. Do the workers who serve our communities deserve at least an opportunity to live in them? Kiosha was one of those workers. She worked as an in-home health aide serving the sick and elderly, but still couldn't afford nearly enough to find a place for her two daughters, aged 11 and 2. So she placed them with her mother 3.5 hours away in Valdosta, Georgia, and would commute on the weekends just to go see them. She's one of 21 million renters, 50% of the US population, that can't afford their rent. Here in New York, you need to earn over $100,000 a year just to qualify for the median apartment. But the median household income in 2023 was only $76,000. This leaves the folks who don't have family nearby with terrible choices. And more than 40% of Padsplit applicants have confronted homelessness in the last 2 years prior to coming to us, despite having full-time employment. Fortunately, Kiosha found Padsplit, where she was able to qualify immediately for a fully furnished room in a shared home with all utilities, Wi-Fi, laundry, credit reporting, even access to telemedicine for only $600 a month. This allowed her to improve her credits and build savings to the point where after 10 months, she was able to qualify and move into a home of her own and start building generational wealth for her family and her daughters. I'm all in favor of building more. But what you may not know is the supply we need already exists. There are 137 million spare bedrooms in the United States right now. Family sizes have been declining since 1790, the first census ever, and new home sizes have been increasing since 1950. We have more square footage per person today than we've ever had in United States history. And by actually using the wasted square footage and empty bedrooms in these homes across the country, you could fill the entire gap with less than 1% of existing housing and not have to build a single thing. Padsplit is a two-sided marketplace that makes housing both more affordable and more profitable. That extra bedroom or home office that never generated any income now generates several $100s per month in net revenue. We fill the rooms, we collect the rent, we provide the software and services to make it all work. Our housing problem isn't just about affordability and supply, though. It's also about access. Keep in mind that $15 an hour is $31,200 a year, well below the minimum needed to qualify for an apartment in most US cities. And even if a renter has enough income, they still can't necessarily get in without good credit, upfront deposit, paying utility deposits, and a lot of cash up front. Padsplit has completely removed these barriers to entry. We don't require deposits, we don't do credit checks, and it costs less than $300 to move into a fully furnished room with all utilities included. We also provide thousands of housing choices for renters where they can transfer seamlessly either across the street or across the country. Our members tell us that they're saving $332 a month on average relative to whatever they were doing before, even if it was living in their car. Padsplit is often the first step on the housing continuum, empowering renters to start a new job, start a business, go back to school, and sometimes even buy a home, like in the case of Kiosha. Our hosts are made up of over 1,000 independent mom and pop landlords who are generally investing for retirement, and 20% of our current host leads are owner occupants. They agree to meet our standards, maintain the properties, and provide a quality experience for our members. Our historic collections rate, in turn, is 97.5% and has never dipped below that number in our 6 years of existence. Our eviction rate is only 1.3% nationally, and take a market like Phoenix, where it was just announced that they were seeing an eviction rate in single-family rentals of 16%, ours was 0.1. Our median time for refilling these rooms is only 8 days, and the average stay for a resident is 8.6 months. Because hosts are doubling their income, they're also continuing to expand and add more affordable housing options. Here are the impacts we've generated so far. We've housed over 36,000 residents and created 16,000 new affordable units in 6 years, serving a population with an income with a median of $27,000 a year. We've done it so far with no public subsidy and no cost to taxpayers, saving more than $3.5 billion that otherwise would have been required to create a comparable number of units. Members have saved over $100 million, and 89% say they would refer a friend. Finally, the reuse of existing housing has saved millions of tons of carbon emissions through embodied carbon, as was mentioned earlier. We've grown steadily since we started, regardless of the COVID pandemic, shocks to the technology sector, interest rate volatility, and we're targeting 1 million rooms by 2030. We've already expanded to 20 core markets, and we won't stop until we can reach anyone, anywhere. So if you're a policymaker, a housing provider, a nonprofit partner, or a funder, I'd love to discuss how we can help expand into your city. And with your help, we can continue addressing the affordable housing crisis, one room at a time. Join us.
So thank you. These were great ideas. So I'm going to ask one question, and because I think there was definitely a common theme amongst all three of these ideas, which was we have big ideas, but we're focused on small spaces. So, you know, in a country where bigger is better and we're constantly just talking about this development has 1,000 units and all these things, we're thinking big. How do we really flip the script to encourage development that is better scaled for smaller spaces? So whoever wants to start.
I mean, for me, it's more just starting with first principles and what does the customer need? One of the most common criticisms we get is, well, it's not enough, right? What you're doing is not enough. It's not a real unit. And I'm sure, Muzzy, you've probably run into the same thing. And the reality is, I've toured a LIHTC deal where it was a beautiful unit. And come to find out that a 75-year-old man who was very happy to be there, who was only paying $160 a month, meaning that we were subsidizing around $1,400, had been sleeping on a hardwood floor for 3 weeks. And it was a 100% finance deal. And so the question is really, what does the customer need? Because at some point in that scenario for traditional development, someone should have asked this gentleman, well, do you need a bed? Mm-hmm. And so I really go back to what does the customer actually need in the process? And in most cases, that is a functional bedroom. They need utilities covered, and they need a place that they can call home that is safe, clean, and quiet.
I think I'll get a hat that says "Make America Smaller Again." Maybe that'll do it. But I think seriously, it is about quality, not quantity. And this is not, you know, us just thinking about how do we do more, because more isn't necessarily better. But really speaking to those who are going to benefit from it and understanding where they're at and what they aspire to. And what they want is a quality environment more than space. They want to feel safe, they want to feel secure, they want to feel supported, and how big it is not as important as how safe it is, and ensuring quality. So I think we need to listen to what our customers are saying.
Yeah, and I would just add, I think the quality is a really important thing in the space of ADUs. I think a lot of people are initially uncomfortable with the idea, or some people are uncomfortable with the idea of sharing their space with a renter, but I think more and more homeowners are starting to see not only the financial benefits, but also the community benefits and also the opportunity for intergenerational and family living. Single-family homes can be very isolating, especially in family life, and so bringing in your grandparents or housing a daughter or a child, I just think there's a lot of opportunity that as there's more and more crunch for housing, people are sort of a little bit getting forced into this and then seeing, actually, I really like this style of living with proximity to family.
One thing I would add is, like, in 1950, according to census docs, we used 298 square feet per person. Okay, like, were we less happy then as a society than we are today? And I don't know that anyone would necessarily make that argument on a societal scale. And we all occupy at any given point about 2 square feet. So do you really need 900 square feet per person of space in order to be satisfied?
Right. Well, I want everybody to join me in thanking all of you. I think these are incredible ideas, and it obviously showcases how there's not a one-size-fits-all solution in every market. So thank you so much, and look forward to celebrating with you.